How's business been in the last couple of weeks?
Good. I closed. I find that a lot of leads are starting to come back to life. So there was one that was an agent locator lead. I reconnected with them, and then they bought just yesterday, 2 days ago.
Nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, so it's good now that now they want to use the sun. Now they want me to help them purchase for their kids. So that's going to turn into two deals and a
Mm-hmm.
good relationship, right?
Yep.
So the money's out there. I'm getting a lot more people who are being active and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, kind of stuff like things like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the market's moving. There's a lot of activity happening, so it's interesting to see what happens in the next coming weeks.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How is everyone else finding the market and their leads? So you guys finding that your leads are um, a little more active with respect to looking at listings, or are they being more responsive when you are reaching out to them? How are you guys finding it with your leads in your system or your area? Because I know not everyone's going to be from the same market.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
calls are going, they're more active in the calls, answering the calls. Nice, nice.
Which is really good. I think also too, like now with the spring market happening, like the weather's getting a little bit better depending on which day it is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the weather's getting better, and I think a lot of people are starting to make decisions. I
Yeah.
actually connected with another lead from Agent Locator that is getting pre-approved now through my in-house mortgage advisor. So
Mm-hmm.
and I also got one the other day that just came in and called me, and she's a sell in Bowmanville, and she needs to buy. So
Oh,
a lot of people are starting to come through.
yeah. No, for sure. No, that's good. All we can hope for, really, right, is that they start to do more of what we want them to be doing and becoming active and wanting to talk to us, or
Right.
being ready to go look at listings, or even
Yeah,
asking questions. Right? Even just
yeah,
asking questions and having conversations, it just makes it a little easier on ourselves. That's for sure.
100%. I totally agree with you. I also think that I think that it's important to when someone's communicating, obviously this is kind of self-explanatory, but
Mm-hmm.
when someone's communicating to make sure that you're getting back to them in a timely fashion. I know I'm brutal for that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But um, it is what it is, right? So,
Yeah.
but if you can try to get them back as soon as possible when they're reaching out, then it'll be an easier conversation. And if you are have not got back to them in a day or two, then I would just start off by apologizing, just said I have something crazy on my end, but I'm back now. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you. Does anyone use online like their campaign editor? Like, do you guys use the templates? Do you guys go on and create your own?
For like you're talking about like the SMSs and what have you, correct?
Yeah, and like the emails.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys use it, or has anyone started setting them up? Yeah.
Yeah. There are already automatic ones that they all get assigned to. Like all your, like a buyer, seller, rental, first time buyer, that kind of thing. They get automatically assigned to incoming leads. You guys do have the ability to see those in your CRM system, and of course make modifications to those campaigns.
Yes.
And that's just accessing the campaign template editor under your settings tab.
Yes.
When you go in there, you're looking for the ones that are auto assigned. So if you are making any edits to those there, you just click edit, you click on the action, whether it's the email or text that you're looking to edit. Um, just bear in mind that anything that is in brackets, like heart brackets, those are short code. Okay, so that's going to automatically pull their first name or your name, things like that. They are case sensitive. So just be careful when you are editing that if you make a little mistake and then you put, let's say, a soft bracket or a lowercase letter, whether it's supposed to be an uppercase, it's not
Yes.
necessarily going to recognize that short code.
Exactly.
And it'll go out saying, hi, first name. This is an example. I know I've done that. So taking a look at those, they are geared to help you gain traction, but sometimes the wording people do want to adjust or throw something in there as well. Um, in the CRM system itself, if you guys click on the heart that's in there on the left-hand side, that heart usually flashes when you guys have new releases. But those new releases that you're viewing are actually hosted on the training website. When you go to the
Yeah,
homepage of the training website, if you scroll down, there's like section that is like your complete guide to the CRM, and that's all like the CRM, tutorials and how-tos. There's sections on the campaigns. There's sections on like administrative tools, mass actions. So all those things that essentially your CRM is capable of. There is a compilation of various tutorials in there, depending on
for
what you're
sure.
looking to do.
They're pretty good. So I'm going to show you guys an example of lead coming in and how the automatic text messages and campaigns that I set up worked. So I'm going to send you here. Let me okay. So basically, good afternoon. So this is what I think usually comes out anyways. But it's just saying good afternoon. Thanks for logging into our website. I see that you're looking at homes in this range and those types of homes. And remember, that's from the person setting it up as soon as they came onto your website. So this is more so of mine. So just an example, hi Mercedes, hope you're doing well. I've sent you some properties in the Clarington area. Is this your email? They look like great options, but I'm not the one buying. You are. Would you like to hear any feedback? Let me know. So you see that she hasn't responded, but it doesn't mean that she's out yet, right? So then another one comes through, hope all is well. So you liked a few properties. I saw a few properties I thought you may be interested in. Do you want me to send them to you? And then I put my name, and then she responds back, but just in the early stages, just looking for being pre-approved for a mortgage. Do you have details on that? And then this is a live response, not obviously automated. Just saying, hope all is well. I understand. Yes, I can give you some more details about that. Are you available for a call today or tomorrow? So do you see how I just shot for the call at first? Because I'm not going to go into paragraphs of like that, and then just to see if she's interested. Yep, she's interested, so it works. And then after, she was just saying, thanks again for your time. Really good person. She's actually super cool. But generally, like, it doesn't have to be this intricate thing. You know what I mean? It's more so of what I found is, if you go into your templates, I would just create emails that you're usually sending out. Text messages that you're consistently always writing up. Just make it as an SMS if it's a text message, as a shortcut, not a shortcut, but a template, or do an email template. And I would try to, what I would give you as really solid advice is to talk about when someone comes in, thank them for coming in, and then go through it as more of a soft customer service role, meaning like, okay, thanks for coming in. I see that you're looking at properties. Great. Hey, just to make sure I'm sending you the right list, can you give me some more information about what you're looking for? And then, you can also put in there, like, most people don't know how to set it up properly, right? So like, you're just kind of going to the soft stuff. And then it's like, also educating about why they should use you. Like, I have one on mine that is basically talks about like, why me? And I just talk about, like, I grew up in the Durham area. I know it very well. I add links to my social media so that they can click on that, and hopefully they can follow, and then they'll start seeing what I'm doing, and then now they've already chosen who they're going to work with, aka me. So now when they start seeing things of interest, things start working out. You know what I mean? And then just kind of going into the customer service, like, it doesn't have to be this hard sell every time. Hard selling does not work unless they're at that spot, right? But and talk about maybe like case studies, like not like a long email, but maybe you should like really take an idea of maybe some of the pain structures that they have. For example, I have one that's telling about I created one that talks about why you should get a pre-approval. I think the title is like, I can make your search efficiency, I can make your search more efficient by 20%. And then in that, I've talked about booking a call with me to talk, right? So, it's just, you have to be really thoughtful of how you currently sell, or not sell, how you currently help people now when they come in with questions. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's
Mm-hmm.
like we're thinking backwards, but this is the best way to frame the best conversations. And then once you start having an online campaign that works, even if you don't get to people, you can still make an impact and you can still respond to them and you can still catch them.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great step before you have inside sales reps.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then I'm sure you agree is watching those campaigns. So knowing when you've made some edits and looking to see which communication attempts are actually achieving responses, right? So if you constantly have like a text message that's going out and it's never getting a response to that specific text message, then maybe adjust the wording on it to see, maybe I need to tweak this one to say something a little bit different, or move it down in the campaign and put something else in its spot, right? So it's constantly tweaking. The same goes with the emails as well, right? Are people actually responding to these emails, or are they just kind of going out? Or if the goal is to get them to respond to the email, is the response that actually comes in from it, or do we need to readjust it slightly to perhaps get that response in? Sometimes it's a matter of the wording, what we're asking, or telling in that email. Sometimes it's the subject of the
Exactly.
email itself, just to get them to open it in the first place.
Right. It's true though, right? So I think the other thing is too, is just like really like sitting and like this is the hardest part, and I'm going to let you know what the hardest part is. Okay, no matter how long you've been in real estate, for year 5, 10, 20 years, okay, depending on where you're at, you feel that if you're not calling, you feel like you're not doing anything. You feel like if you're not reaching out to people, you feel like you're not really lead genning, or it's not a productive day. But
Yeah.
the framework that I've done is I've created that, okay, creating systems and building processes is lead genning. It's just going to cut
Mm-hmm.
your lead gen time much faster if you have systems and processes in, rather than always manually doing the same things over and over again. So,
Mm-hmm.
because then at that point, there's only a certain amount of leads that you can deal with coming in. But if things were a little bit more automated, right, then you can, up your budget if you want to get more leads coming in. And with your templates that you created that don't sound robotic and they sound like a genuine person, which is the key, then you already get people who are already answering, and you're not taking like 3 hours of your day just calling people that are not answering your phone. What you want to
Mm-hmm.
try to do is build a demand of people who are already communicating with you. And then your lead gen is dealing with warm leads.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way to do that is you have to create a stepping stone in order to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the
Yeah.
hardest part, because I even feel like sometimes, okay, I'm putting time into this. I took, 3 hours. Did I waste my day? Obviously
Yeah.
not. But like, I think that, putting certain templates in is only going to help you get better.
Yeah.
Even
No,
like,
absolutely.
and it doesn't have to be like beginning templates. It could be like, I have a just checking in template that's 3 or 4 steps, once a week or once every 5 days. So those leads that you've called and they don't answer, you just put 20 of them on that. And if one answers, then hey, guess what? You now have an opportunity to talk to them.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that's really good. Has anyone been getting, really successful calls, or any calls that, had an objection that was tough to deal with? No, everyone's getting it.
I think the longer that you are doing this and the more calls that you're making, the more objections you're going to hear. So those objections only give us practice at handling them.
Yeah.
The most common one that I imagine you hear is we're just looking, right? We're just browsing. That's one where a lot of people, when they hear that, it's kind of like, okay, we take it like almost as if it's 100% factual. They're just tire kickers,
Yes.
right? Because we do different things in our life where we're just kind of looking with no intention. But a lot of those just lookings there's intent behind it, right? So you have some people that are just looking, that are actively looking, right? So, or they could be like that individual where that you spoke to. For example, the text message says she's just browsing and she's in the process of getting a pre-approval. So if we didn't know the fact that she was in the process of getting a pre-approval, and we just looked at the just looking and took it as it was, there's a good chance Nick would have missed out on that opportunity because, well, she's just looking, she's not going to do anything. Where meanwhile, she's just browsing right now because she's in the midst of seeing what she can afford. And then she's probably going to start looking at houses if the numbers are right. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's just one example of somebody that could be just looking, right? So it's
Yeah.
really learning and acknowledging that it's okay that they're just looking, right? You
Yes.
don't focus on the people that are just browsing or using your website to look at listings, because that's a good thing. Even if they're not moving anytime soon, or maybe if they don't even have intentions of moving, but if they're looking and they're using your website, it's better that they're using your website than somebody else's, because the time will come when they are ready to take next steps, right? So,
Yes.
and the more that they're getting your emails, the more that they're seeing your name coming across their inbox over and over again. So when you do reach out to them, there's already this sense of, you know, an understanding or acknowledgement of who you are, right? So when you're like, hey, it's Nick Moretti, you know, people are like, oh, hey, Nick, like as if they know
Exactly.
you because they've seen your name come across their inbox so many times that
Yes.
there's already a connection there.
Yes.
So, you know, letting them browse the listings. You know, a lot of people will stop. I've seen it. They stop the search or they archive the lead because they're not interested right now. Just leave them, leave them in
Yes.
there. It doesn't hurt your system to give them listings,
Yes.
because again, in buyers are liars, right? We can't always trust what they're telling us because there's a fear of being sold,
Yes.
right? Or they don't want to be sold. So they'll tell you what they need to tell you to get you off the phone because they're not quite ready to have that conversation just yet. We all
Right.
do it. We all do it in sales pitches or, you know, sales calls that come to us. We all kind of veer them off the call because it doesn't necessarily mean we're not interested. It's, we don't want to talk about this right now because
Yeah.
right now is not the time to talk
Yes.
about it.
Yes.
So,
So those are really great things. So a few things. So for Draga, so okay, a few things I want to go. So had a great call, asked for me to keep in touch, and she said I prefer not to call back. So if you notice on my calls, I don't ask those kind of things. I just assume that I'm going to be working with them until they tell me no. So, you know, a great things would be like, you know, okay, so you talk to them, you introduce yourself, you talked about listings and stuff like that. You know, the way that you need to approach it and end it is, hey, you know what, I understand you're in the information stage. I understand that, you know, it usually takes 3 to 18 months. No one just wakes up and moves tomorrow. It doesn't work like
mm-hmm,
that, you know what I mean, unless
mm-hmm,
a life change, work change, or a family change has happened. So, you know, I understand that, and also I understand that it's a lot of money right now for you to purchase another home. So you want to make sure that there's, you know, the timing is right in all different areas in your life. You want to make sure that you're pre-approved for the best. You want to make sure that you're creating the best, you know, market information and educating yourself. But there's only so far that you can go before you need a professional like myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep sending you listings in this area to give you more information about what's happening in the marketplace. And if this gets you curious, or if you start seeing any homes that are a 5 or 6 out of 10 or higher, I really encourage you to go take a look at them with me, just because then at that point you can see what your money gets you. And you know, photos look great, but it also may look different when you're in there, and your changes might be different from the time you go to the tour and realize, hey, I don't need this anymore, I need this instead. So there's
mm-hmm,
so many different aspects that, you know, you need a professional help guide you, and you know,
mm-hmm.
I'm here to help you, right?
Yep.
So do you mind if you know, just to make sure you're looking for homes that you know, in this area, would you consider any others? You know, are you only looking for this type of product? You know, would you consider others that have better price points or better value? You know, and then once you have that locked in, it's like, okay, no problem, I'm going to keep sending you this list. If you see anything that you do like, let me know, but I'm going to just check in and just make sure you're good, and you know, your needs haven't changed, or just to check in just to see how you're doing, because like I said from the get-go, I'm more of a relationship agent, and I want to hear that you're doing well. Do you
Mm-hmm.
see the difference between, like, because when you ask people, they're going to tell you no. So I always just assume if they're talking to you and the conversation's going back and forth, then they like you, they understand you're having a great script, you have a great communication, you have a great flow in that call. So everything is working, and that's what you want. You want good flows, good engagement, and then making sure that you're sending them the solution of homes that they want to see. But
Mm-hmm.
I say all that in one conversation. I explain to
Mm-hmm.
them why it's important to do all this, right? And I
Yeah.
think that if you don't build that expectation, remember, they don't know what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
Some do, but most of them, they don't know, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's your job to make sure that you kind of educate them and let them know what the next steps are. Because if you can catch that and they like you and it's a good conversation, chances are that they're not going on other people's or other competitions' websites to look and browse at houses because you got them to look at
Mm-hmm.
your website. And that's what you want to do, right? You
Mm-hmm.
want to look at like having more people just engaging on your website because everything else will follow.
Yeah. And then really if someone says they prefer not that you don't call them back, you could ask, okay, how would you prefer? Do you mind? And if I just send you like a quick email or a text message, I just want to check in periodically, just to make sure I'm still sending you the right listings because our lives can change at the drop of a pin. So I just, it's not to push you into anything you're not ready. I just want to make sure that there's nothing that I could be doing more for you while you're still in this research or this information gathering stage.
Yeah. And another way that you can position that is, hey, I'm going to keep sending you listings. Would being in the information stage, would you not want someone to send you listings of value? Right? That's what you would ask them. They would say, yes, I would. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to check in periodically, or I'm just going to check in from time to time just to make sure that the list is good and to make sure that you're doing well. So
Mm-hmm.
that really kind of answers, Ali, like it answers like for 1 or 2 years. You can just say information stage. I understand that this is 3 to 18 months out. No worries. I'm not here to rush you or pressure you, but my goal is to make sure I'm sending you listings and information that you do want to know when you get closer to that decision time, because everything in real estate happens so fast. And you're going to see that happens. So, at the end of the day, you want a professional like myself to make sure that they can lead you in the right way and make sure that everything is seamless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of no answers. Now, when you get a lot of no answers, you call back. Are these people that you've previously spoken to, or are these leads that you're trying to get in touch with?
I'm gonna
If
say
the
probably leads that he hasn't talked.
Yeah, haven't spoken to yet. So with those ones there, it's a lot of it's the consistency of our calls, right? So you guys should have filters. It's clearing it out. If we're consistent with those, the curiosity kicks in the majority of those leads. And it can take, 6 to 10 calls on average to get somebody to answer. Because and you got to keep in mind and put yourself in the consumer's shoes. We get a lot of I know I get a lot of calls from my phone, and a lot of them are from numbers that look local, but they're unfamiliar. And a majority of the time, I don't answer. And my son asked me, "Why don't you ever answer?" And I said, "Because every time I do answer, there's no one there." Right? So I'm like, and then so I get to the point of like, if it's important, they're gonna leave me a message, right? That's my mentality because I haven't done anything, but majority of those calls, that's typically what it is. Now, continuously calling those numbers that call me, it's never the same number that's calling me. There's no recognition. It's always just some random number. Like sometimes they're local. I've got calls from the UK, from California, from like all over the place for these calls, right? But it's always just one call from that number. It's never this is a number like clearly this person is trying to get a hold of me, right? So that's where the consistency with having those calls will build the curiosity. Now, if you are wanting to leave a voice message, one of the things that you can do is I always say try 5 to 6 call attempts before leaving a message, but you can almost leave it like an anonymous message, right? Because we don't necessarily want to reveal exactly why we're calling, because these leads, again, they could be in the very early stages. And once we announce that I'm a realtor, they now know who's attached that phone number. You might have a harder time. It's just saying, "Hey, Crystal, it's Nick. Give me a call back when you have a chance." Right? So if we're calling to say that, they're going to be like, well, there's a curiosity is still there, right? So they might not call back, but the next time they see the number, they might just answer as well, because now
Yes.
they're trying to figure out who the heck is this Nick guy that keeps calling. Clearly he wants to talk to me. So then the curiosity kicks in that way. So that's, it's just being, pushing through and calling and calling and calling. You can, mix it up if they're on drips. Of course, they're getting text messages as well. Hey, just wanted to try to connect. When's a good time to chat? Things like that. But we have to be consistent with those call attempts, right? Because a lot of people do screen their calls, and the more they see the number popping up, the more likely they are going to be to answer it. But we have to be consistent. You can't call today and then once in 2 weeks and then once a month later. It's just not there. It just looks like a random number calling them again.
Exactly. So that's the tough part, right? But what do so agents, what do you do when someone is just saying that they don't want to do anything and they don't want to waste your time? Because I'll show you guys another conversation because this one was pretty good too. And this one was by text. No, I don't know. So I'm going to show you what I've done in my messages here. So this is another one that is, very similar to my online campaign. So that came through. Thanks, Nick. I'm actually just looking, not sure if I'm going to do anything, so I don't want to waste your time. So I just said, hey, hope all is well. I totally understand that you're just in the information stage. My goal is to make sure I'm sending you homes that are that you are interested in, as it keeps browsing until you are closer to a decision. Is there a specific area that you are looking in? No, thanks, just browsing. Okay, no problem. Let me know if you want me to alter or change the list for you. I'd be happy to do so. So me just saying that, now she started opening up, just looking for unique homes with good size garages. So when people start doing that, I'm just starting to ask more questions about that. So I go, nice. Are you looking more rural? When you say good size garages, do you mean 2 spaces or more? So do you see how that's engaging? And do you see that I'm not just asking for other stuff, So she loved the message. 2 large or 3 can be a rural or large town lot. Okay, can you give me more information on what's unique to you? See what I mean? Like asking more questions about what, don't just assume what they're thinking, just ask, right? Older homes such as century ones, is there certain sizes of lots that you want too, right? Because when someone says rural or a large town, I think large could be 100-foot frontage.
Yeah.
Right? Some
Yeah, it's
people
hard to
just
say.
want 30 or 40, right?
Exactly.
So, okay, can you give me information so I actually saw a property that is similar to what she's looking for. So then I said, how I felt about that house. So, hey, I actually saw this listing, really unique property that has a barn, creeks, almost 15 acres. Most of it, 11 acres, are protected land. The garage is big, but you have to rebuild it later to fit more than one car. It has wooden sheds on either side. Have you browsed this property online? So, what was really good about this? This is just giving her a live example of a property that's on there. Who do you think is going to show more value? Someone like myself who's taking initiative and just now piecing some of the puzzles together, or am I now an agent that is just saying, oh, okay, here's a list? Because so many people fell off on just no thanks, I'm browsing. You know what I mean? So you just have to keep going a little bit like per conversation. And she goes, I do like the historical areas of Port Hope, but not looking to do any major renovations. Been there and over it. So, just relating with her, hey, I agree. Once you start pulling back walls on older properties, that's when the contingency funds comes in handy, as there's usually always something that you have to fix before updating the original plan. Laugh out loud. Is there a radius that you would consider, such as Clarington to Coburg or Hamilton Township North? So do you see how I'm getting more defined, right? Because when you're more defined and you're more specific, that's when people are going to answer you or have the best rate of answering. I actually do have a friend that's an agent looking for me, so I don't want to step on any toes, but thank you. So she likes me, and now she told me the real reason. So, hey, I totally understand for being upfront. Curious, does your friend know the area? If not, I may have an idea that's a win-win for everyone. What would this idea be if she said yes? It would be, hey, I would give him a referral fee. So he still looks like a superstar. You're getting paid, he's getting paid, and then you look even better because now you're solving and their friend doesn't have any, negative feelings.
Yeah.
So she just said, oh, yes, he knows the very area very well. So I go, no problem. If you ever need a second opinion, perfect. But do you see how far I went with that one lead that a lot of people are not doing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not just saying taking a passive. So it's a passive objection. You guys have to recall that it's passive. It's one way to just kind of shoot, like, no, I'm good. It's like it kind of refer always back to like any kind of retail store, right? You guys
Yeah.
always walk in there, and it's very seldom that when somebody walks up to you and asks if there's anything they can help you look for, find, or with, we're always just, we're browsing, or no, we're good, right? So it's a very passive objection, just to say, you know what, leave me alone, but if I have questions, I'll come find you, kind of thing, right? And so the leads are gonna have that same passive objections with you, with the just looking, or I don't want to waste your time, or things like that. So it's learning how to handle those, to dig a little bit deeper. So, digging a little bit deeper with respect to what their wants and needs are, and their motivations, or maybe why they're not only just browsing right now. So understanding more about your lead and the story behind why they came on in the first place is going to help you tremendously determine and figure out who this person is and what their actual just looking means.
Yes.
Right? Because you can have those active just looking, right? Like I could be in the market for, I always refer to cars, because I could be in the market for a car, browsing cars, browsing cars, browsing cars. But if somebody was to reach out to me about that, I would probably say I'm just browsing, right?
Yeah.
But there's full intent to buy something. But until I'm ready to go take that next step, I'm just going to tell people I'm browsing, because I'm not ready to, commit to that yet.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's a level of commitment. Right?
Yeah, and I feel like once you start getting scripted, and I feel like once you have your confidence up, you can be a little bit more bold, right? And like you have to judge based on how that conversation's going. But basically, you could just say in that scenario that Crystal was saying about browsing cars, for example, you'd say, hey, I totally understand that you've been just browsing. It sounds like you've been looking for a little bit based on what you're asking that's available in the market. It just sounds like you haven't found the right one. But let me ask you a question: if you found the right one, would you be ready to move forward? Do you see how you know what I mean? Like so many agents like beat around the bush when just, be upfront and ask questions in a different way that you're going to get a yes. And then once you get a question that's a yes, follow through with the trial close. Because if they already said yes before, then that means that, okay, you have a solution for them. Now it's time to present the solution. And then after you present the solution, it's like, okay, are you ready to find more info or move forward? So that's just generally how it goes. For Brandon, usually what I do, Brandon, is I let my online campaign go for about a day or two, and then I try calling them within 2 or 3 days. Because truthfully, my campaigns do get a good amount of responses. And sometimes people have to let the first or second response hit them before they respond. Yeah. Because then I also want them to not know my who they signed up for afterwards, because I know that once I talk to them, I will make a difference in that conversation. So that's what I think, to be honest with you. I think that's the way to do it. You can try doing when they're active. When they're active, it might be better to send an email or a text. Just because I think it might be a little bit easier.
If they're actively engaged. So sometimes, like if we're calling and we're looking at leads that are active or have recently been active, know that real estate is on their brain, right? So you're not catching them while they're like scrubbing the kitchen floor or something like that, and you're calling at the worst possible time. You're calling them, in a time that creates a window of them recently doing something as to the reason why you're calling, right? So sometimes you'll find that people are a little more willing to converse with you or engage in that conversation because they were just looking at properties, or might have some questions because they were just looking at some properties, right? So as we start to do things, that's when, we don't write our questions down and we forget them. Kind of like going to the doctor, right? If you don't ask all the questions that you're supposed to ask them, you end up leaving the doctors and being like, shoot, I forgot to talk about this, right? So it's writing, they're not going to do that. So the closer we are to calling them when they are active, the more that they're going to be engaged with the conversation itself.
Yes.
Or may have questions.
It's true. And I feel that it's really important as well to always look to see what's happening in your market daily, like a couple times a day, because a lead that comes in might be curious about a property that's on the market. And if you already know what's going on prior to, then I think that would be, just like my example over there, how that made a difference of just talking to her about a listing that might already fit her budget. That's the point of being valuable, right? Like to point out things that have to point out things that are, that could already help find a solution for them. And remember, most agents are not even doing that, so you have to really think about what your competition is doing, and like what what you can do different to stand out, because once you stand out, they're not going to go somewhere else unless you fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, unless you
Yep.
do something really bad where, oh, I'm sending you these listings when I told you no for the fifth time, then I don't want these type of listings.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be
Yeah.
careful because sometimes the lead can change the settings on it. Like, I
Yeah.
had one where they changed the settings and they're like, oh, well, Nick, like, we're not looking for this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't even know how this got changed. So,
Yeah.
and then like let them know sometimes errors happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
think it's really important to just um, make sure that you're just being like a person too, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best way. And I think a really great way too is that there's so many people right now that think they're talking to AI, which there usually are, but even making jokes that like, hey, yeah, you're talking to a real person, like, you know what I mean? This is
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
me. So I think that that's a good idea as well. But I mean, you know, I think at the end of the day, like, what it really comes down to is like having a personality or having different scripts that really opens up and helps you capture more different types of personalities or types of people where they are in a scenario. Like, someone's has a parent that's not doing well and they need to sell their house and it's a very sensitive topic. Like, you have to know how to gauge certain things that I feel that once you go through life in different directions, you start
Mm-hmm.
connecting more with people that have gone down the same roads as you. You know
Yeah.
what I
No,
mean?
absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I just think that it's really good to just call as much as you can, to get an idea of what your scripts are going to be, and then what you are going to kind of make it feel different. I don't know if that makes sense, right? But
Yeah.
there's only so many ways of difference that I can say how to call a lead, right? And I think it's just
Mm-hmm.
down to authentically being yourself. That's what
Yep.
makes the difference,
So I'm like your a lot of time when on those calls, I kind of what do I refer to it as like your first date, right? It's
right?
your first date with this lead. You're just having a conversation, trying to learn a little bit more about them. You're not trying to try to like, and you shouldn't be on a first date, sell them on yourself.
Right?
Like you're just casually like learning and info grabbing and back and forth, asking questions, listening. It's treat it like a first date call with these people. You're gonna be, hopefully not nervous on the call, but
Right?
it's just really a genuine conversation with them. And so um it's not that you're forcing them to have this conversation, but it's not letting them just stop the conversation because we're just browsing,
Right.
right? It's okay, so it's kind of it's yeah, it's just keeping the conversation going, but treat it just as that, right? We're just really trying to learn about this person, whether they're moving now in 2 years, maybe they have no plan, to move. But we really want to build that connection, that relationship, because things change. They may be moving sooner than they anticipated, but a lot of it comes down to those impressions, right? So
100%.
you only get on the second date if you leave a good impression.
100%.
So we have to, leave that first call with a good impression.
I agree with you. But I think it's just connecting. Like, it's not about so much of like, you know, it's not so much about like how selling. It's about like talking to someone, building a connection with them, get to genuinely, get to ice break them and have a good flow of a conversation before you get right into it. Because if you can get a good flow before getting right into it, sometimes you have to because they're not really giving you anything. But to be honest with you, it's better if you could just really, really build a good, solid relationship first, just prior to doing that. Because once you have that, then they know that they trust you a little bit on the phone, and then everything else gets a little bit easier. But you don't just get that through just calling them the first time. You have to kind of like, call a bunch of people, get an idea of how to get comfortable, get more confidence, get your script up, and then kind of go with it. But is there any other like objections or even any, successes or even problem or walls that you are can't really break through right now, in your opinion? Because I'd be happy to help you and kind of give you more information about that and like how I can, get you guys to win. No.
Doesn't look like it.
So you guys are telling me that you guys are all
Yeah.
good. You guys are closing all these leads.
Yeah. So one other thing that you guys can do as well is more softer approaches to asking the questions to get the, what the information that you're looking for. Asking them about, if they're looking, have you gone to see any houses? Or you just primarily browsing online? That's a roundabout way of really determining, figuring out, are they already working with somebody, right? If they've
Yes.
gone to see houses, then we're going to dig a little bit deeper about how they got into those houses.
Yes.
If they're just browsing online, you pretty much know you're in the safe zone,
Right.
right? If they're telling you about how much their affordability is, ask them how they came up with that price, or do you know what the monthly payments would be on a home of that value? That's a backdoor way of asking, have you talked to a lender yet? Right? So there's different softer approaches that kind of ease the lead into giving you the information that you're looking for without being directly asking the question,
Yes.
like the hard, like get to the point.
Yes.
Point.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's just what it really is, right? It's about like just being really sleek on the way that you approach it and then asking the right questions to find out. And guys, you have all the questions ready to be asked because when they log in, Agent Locator gives you information about the lead, being about how many properties they looked at, where they came in. Like you already have something rather than just a call that you're just throwing out different ideas, right? So you don't tell them like certain, like depending on your script is, at the beginning, this is a great script. Hey, I see that you're looking at homes in Curtis or in Oshawa. Are you only looking at homes in this area or would you consider other areas as well? Do you see how it's not open and closed? You have to ask them questions that's not a yes and no. You need to ask them questions that they can open up and give you more information on.
So I guess one good practice that you guys can do, or my videos anyway, what you guys can do is even write down the questions that you know of the information that you're generally trying to get at. Okay, so it could be like, where they're looking, what they're looking for, that sort of aspect. Are they working with anyone? The pre-approval questions, the why they're having to move, things like that. And so you can write down the hard question of how you would ask that directly, and then next to it, write down a couple of examples of how you can ask that question a little more softer approach without being so direct with that question. Right? So come up with different ways that you can reword that question to get the same answer that you're looking for.
Exactly. And like that's all about how it works. You find ways of like asking questions or a specific let's say if someone wants to, let's say you want to find out homes that you want to know, homes that they're interested in. Okay, so you could just, if you didn't throw in that script, you could just say, hey, what areas are you looking at? Or you can say, yes, there's a lot of inventory right now in the Durham region. Is there an area specific that you want to be in? You know, you just have to throw in different things and like different ways of asking the same question like 3 or 5 times. As you can hear in my past calls, like I'll do a trial close or I'll do some information gathering and they won't give it to me the first time, but after I build a little bit more report, the second time they'll give me more info, the third time they'll give me more info. Like they start chipping away, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are open books and they tell you everything you want to know and have a conversation on the first call. Some people need to feel comfortable with you. And so,
100%.
having those check-ins, and even if you're following up and they're not answering, you leaving a voice message, hey, it's Crystal just checking in, making sure things are good. You may call back if you need to. Otherwise, I'll follow up with you in a few weeks from now just to make sure. Right. So it's sort of taking the pressure off that we're not pushing them into anything, but letting them know that we're there whenever they're ready. And when we do catch them on the phone, right, it could take a couple follow-up calls or texts to get them to actually respond to you. But when you do, then you've already got that initial connection. It's like, oh, hey, it's good to hear from you, or good to hear your voice, right? So it's really about that relationship building with all of these leads. Right?
Yes.
It's not so cut and dry. If it was super simple and easy and all we had to do was call, figure out what they wanted, they were going looking at homes, they're all pre-approved, we would all be in real estate. We'd all be doing this and we'd all be laughing.
Yes, exactly. And that's really what it is. I think it's just really just building rapport and just letting people know. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but that's really what it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no secret crazy equation. The only secret crazy equation is just how many calls are you doing and how many people you're connecting with,
Yeah.
right? And you remember these leads might not answer when they first come in, but if you like circle back to them 2 months later or 3 months later, they're gonna forget the number that called them. And the better thing is too is like at that time they're searching, they might just, it might be an idea, they might not have the right help at the beginning, and now they've kind of left it kind of to the sidelines. And now when you reach out to them again, you're kind of sparking it back if you say the right things, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So Melissa, what's the best message that gets you the best response rates? Really, like, there's not really a best message. I think if anything is, hey, I sent a list, I sent a handpick, or just saying, hey, there's more listings that are coming onto the marketplace. I can send you a handpicked list. I can send you a handpicked list of homes that you may be interested in. Would you want to see them? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just so it's a
Mm-hmm.
quick yes or no. And then once they say yes, be like, okay, perfect. Just to confirm, are you looking for blah? Right.
Yeah.
And then
Mm-hmm.
they might now, since they're engaged, they might say yes or no, or they might now add to it via text message. Now, what you've learned is now you got them a little bit more motivated, telling you more of what they want. Because remember, you got to dangle that carrot in front of their face so they can hear and understand. And then that's how you go into the next step.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It,
People are only active or more responsive when they hear or get what they want.
mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was an agent that didn't, or if I was a lead that, went on to two websites and I logged in both in Oshawa, let's say for both website, and one agent's calling me saying, hey, I've sent you listings in Toronto, right? Let's just say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like that wouldn't really engage me because I'm not looking at homes in Toronto. But if there was another agent who saw what I was looking for in Oshawa, right, and sent me products in Oshawa, I'd be more amped to respond to that message with that person because they're sending me information that I want. I feel like we
Mm-hmm.
have to really put our mindset into the consumer when they're coming in, because if you can do that, then you already won the battle,
Yeah.
because now you already know what the objections can be or might be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There's different ways of also wording the motivation, like a motivation is kind of tech of what their motivations are.
Right.
Are you in the research, like, just kind of research stage? Do you guys have a goal? It's keywords like you have a goal or a plan to make a move sometime this year,
Right.
right? I just want to be as valuable and provide you the information that's relevant to where you are in your home search right now. Right.
Right.
So if we kind of take that pressure off, I understand a lot of my buyers right now are in that information gathering stage. Just curious if that, you fall into that category, or if there is intention to make a move sometime this year.
100%. Or like if you don't want to go in that hard, just different ways of explaining, be like, hey, once you start finding the right property for you, do you already have a pre-approval set up? Because like I said, real estate happens so fast that you might find a property, you want to go see it, and next thing you know, you want to put an
Mm-hmm.
offer in. So it's really important to have a pre-approval, because it's kind of like your guide measure, like it's kind of like your guidance on what products you can get and what products might be too much for us, or what
Mm-hmm.
would be the best value in your based in your criteria.
Yeah.
Have you been pre-approved? No. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
no problem. Now, if you don't mind me asking, would you want a mortgage agent to help you, or would you want someone at a bank to help you? What's the difference? Well, a mortgage broker, they'll be able to shop for you and get you the best rate, rather than you going to, TD, then Scotia, then that, because I can tell that you're a busy individual. And I have really good mortgage agents in all different areas, A lenders, B lenders, private mortgage. I also have really great mortgage advisors that I can help you out with. So really being the solution. And that's why it's important to really build up your referral sphere, because the more that you can build up, the faster and more more better those conversations will be. So, for example, like the ones that I had over here, I referred her to my mortgage specialist, my mortgage broker, and they've already had a conversation and things are already getting sent along and going from there. Because if you can make the process easier for them, then they know that you already know how to deal with the scenario and how to deal with real estate, that they're ready to essentially trust you and go through the motions with you. You know what I mean? So that's super important. Super important, super important.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would that's kind of like the things that I do. Because the longer I can keep them on the phone, the more questions I ask, I can find out where the pain points are, and then I can help find solutions for their pain. And that's the whole point, that they're on these calls, right? The whole point is that they're browsing at homes, they're probably looking to buy a house this year or next year, and they want to know where they should buy or what product they want to buy, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's really good to just always say that information stage, because then people feel that word information stage makes people understand that, like, yeah, I'm just looking and I'm just curious. And then their guard is down a lot more rather than saying anything else. I've tried
Mm-hmm.
with a whole bunch of words. These words are like really the best words to say, and watch when you start changing the wording, how quickly the conversations can get better. Because by the time you're in that middle of the conversation, they're going to tell you, if you're on the phone with them for 5 to 7 minutes, they're going to tell you what the problems are. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's up to you to be, a human, and also like try to figure out, but while listening to their needs and wants, and trying to figure out a roadmap that will work for them in the most fastest and easiest way. Because if you can do that, then you'll get these deals done here. And then it's just, going on to the next one, and trying to help them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I would just consider those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, any kind of last questions before we head off and you guys start doing your calls? Like I said, I think you guys need to send some calls, recorded calls to Crystal. It can be
Mm-hmm.
anonymous, so people won't know. But remember, like I see a lot of the same faces here, which is amazing, and I'm happy you guys are back. But I want to make sure that you guys get more value and you guys are able to close these leads more,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be able to, on top of calling, just to be able to find other lucrative conversation ways to get them started. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it could even just be right after your calls. Like, you guys don't have to like compile them. But if you have a call that maybe you struggled a bit with, or you didn't know how to handle it efficiently, or you feel like you didn't handle it efficiently, or maybe it went really well, right? Either way, it can be both, right? You can, in that moment, download, you can send it to me. That way you're not sitting there, I'm not giving you homework to go through all your leads, figure out which calls to send. So when, something happens, that so you can send it, so that even if you don't make it to next webinar, these are always recorded, right? So we at least have a copy of the recording that will play, whether you're on here or you're not on here, that you'll be able to listen to. And it could be, a group discussion, what would you have said differently on that call? Or how would have you maybe adjusted what was said when the call was, the opening of the conversation?
100%.
Just all different things. Group effort sometimes,
Yeah,
right? And how we listen, and listen to your own calls. I stress this so much. Listen to your own calls and how you're talking, and how you sound. Like, we're our own
exactly.
biggest critique, right? Is there a lot of delay, like of uncertainty when we're talking? Okay, so now we know that, okay, I need to try to be a little bit more fluent in how I speak.
Yes.
Or a lot less or like sitting there thinking. Sometimes I listen to calls, I basically hear that this person's thinking about, what do I say next?
Right.
Right? Because it's not just a smooth conversation. It's kind of, so when we're listening to our own calls, we'll be able to identify those key factors of different areas that we may need to focus and improve on.
I agree. But yeah, so Draga, remember, we're not going to ask when can I follow up. We're going to just assume and just say, hey, I'm going to just check in the next coming weeks, if you have any other questions. But feel free, if you see anything that you do like a 5 or 6 out of 10 on your list, and you have any inquiries, please let me know. I'd
Mm-hmm.
be more than happy to find that information out for you.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
you'll get it. But yeah, if no one else has any questions, then happy selling.
Yeah.
Um, if you do have any questions, now's the time.
There's one question about how much to spend to get one deal a month. A lot of factors in that. Just remember the average is a 1% conversion rate. So for every 100 leads, that's one deal, right? So
Yes.
the longer you do this, though, that's compounding,
Yes.
right? And it also, we can get to the leads, but it's how you're also communicating, working those leads. That's a huge factor. Like I can
100%.
throw, 500 leads at Nick, doesn't mean that he's going to convert 5 of them if he was really horrible at working his leads or really bad at conversation.
100%.
So it's a lot of it comes into how we're actually, communicating with these leads and
Going from there.
going
Yeah.
from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Karen, we can do that next call. Talk about seller leads and what's important to them and how to get them done. So yeah, we can do that. No problem. But I want at
Perfect.
least someone here to at least send a call anonymously, either successful or maybe a wall that would be an objection that is hard to face, because at the end of the day, I'm here to help you, and we only learn from experiencing it and learning how to so I can guide you a little bit better through those calls.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, well, everyone, take
Awesome.
care. Have a great day.
Have a
Let
great
me know if you have any
Wednesday.
questions and we go from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
Always a
Thanks,
pleasure.
everyone.
No
We'll see you
problem.
next couple weeks. Couple weeks.
Yes. Okay, bye.
Bye.